So this is SmallRig MagicFiz system, and SmallRig has been doing quite a number of interesting things lately. They've moved beyond just camera rigs and accessories. They started providing lights, microphones, and now, as the name implies, obviously in the Fizz part, which is the focus, iris and zoom, this is a wireless follow focus unit, and it was to be expected considering that, SmallRig did start off with their manual follow focus unit. And today I want to talk about whether this is the right unit for you, particularly more so if you are on a budget or if you are a small crew that kind of needs a wireless focus unit, but you can't really shell out something like a Preston or let's say an RE, which is obviously beyond what most people can afford anyways. But today I want to talk about whether this is the right unit for you. So the kit that was sent to me is the basic kit, which has the focus wheel as well as one motor. I know they have a couple of other kits. I think the other kit is the hand grip, which I don't have with me, and the more advanced kit, which is a two hand grip or two motor kit, if I'm not mistaken. So I do want to give some props to SmallRig that they did try to come up with an ecosystem for this MagicFiz. If you are an AC, for example, you just need really this wireless wheel. If you are operating wirelessly on a rig as a solo operator, obviously you would need the hand grip. Or if you're doing both your zoom and your iris as well as your focus, you have an option to actually expand your kit to what you actually need. So let's take a look at the wheel unit. All you have to do straight away to turn it on is to hold the rec button. It turns on really quickly and it's connected, and you can actually just focus like so. So let me just focus here really quickly. You have a really big, nice wheel to control. You have your marking disc. You actually have a marker right here, so you can physically mark it if you wanted to, but obviously you don't have to because you can use a digital A and B. Very nice OLED screen right here. All your buttons. There's a rec button to record. You can control certain cameras over Bluetooth or wired connection. Unfortunately, the camera that's shooting me, I don't actually have any compatible cameras. Up and down to control the menu, set menu, lock everything, and finally, obviously, your marking A and B points. Finally, you do have this connection where you can put the hand grip if you have it, but I don't, so I don't have it. You can actually charge over USB-C, or you can leave it on as well. Yeah, very nice, very bright OLED screen right here. So let's take a look at the motor. This is a much better build quality than the actual unit itself. I'm not so sure why. It's a much more solid connection. I do love this, very solid. It has a screen right here. This MagicFiz says it says MagicFiz, but I mean, it's not actually a screen. The screen is actually up here. Yeah, and this is to actually connect the battery plate, which looks something like this, where you can just connect it like that. To me, it's a little bit ugly and a bit unwieldy, so I actually prefer if you... My goodness, it's stuck. And I actually prefer powering this thing over USB-C, and then if you want to record, you can record it right there. So now let's look at the usability of this, and in my opinion, the MagicFiz is pretty much idiot-proof. All you have to do is set it up, turn it on, and it's good to go. All you have to do is make sure that there are two numbers that are the same or matching on both this unit as well as the motor. As you can see here, there is the channel number as well as the motor number. Just make sure that you have it all the same and it should work fine. For example, here I have F02 as my channel and motor 3 as a number, and I can just turn it straight just like that. Very simple. The OLED screen on here is clean. It is bright, you can see it. It's a little bit hard to see in direct sun for me, but for the most part, it's actually very easy to use. Something that I really like is that you actually have a visual representation on the direction or the position of the focus wheel on the screen itself, on the OLED screen itself. It's just really easy to see at a glance, although I'll mostly be doing by feel. One of my favorite features on this is obviously going to be the marking. For example, if I'm shooting like this, particularly if you're shooting at like f0.95 as I am on here, or you can actually make a digital hard stops on this, because although this does have like hard stops in the wheel itself, you have to stop, it stops at one point. There isn't any like marking system where you can like physically stop yourself from moving besides just a visual reference. So what you can do is you can actually have digital hard stops, where basically you press A, set your focus at point A, and then you set your focus at point B, set it, and then you're good to go. If you want to get out of the A/B marks and go to like your full range, all you have to do is get out of the system, get out of the menu, and then you're good to go. Something that's really nice, and it's more of like a, I guess if you want to pimp out your rig a bit, you can actually change the color on the wheel itself. I actually like red because it's easy to see, but that's just me. Now let's talk about the responsiveness, and this is something that I'm really surprised. I used to use the Tilta Nucleus Nano for a while. Whilst that was a really useful piece of kit, the one thing that I really didn't like about it was its reliability and its responsiveness. For me, the Nucleus Nano was very fidgety. It's like it had its own mind of its own. If you wanted it to do this, it would like, if you feel like it didn't, it just didn't do it. Like sometimes the responsiveness isn't that great. Like if you want to turn a bit, suddenly it will turn a lot and things like that. But for me, the MagicFiz is one, I was very surprised considering its price as a very affordable follow focus, wireless follow focus unit. It's actually super responsive. You can actually do really minute changes, and it follows really nicely. And if you want to do it fast, you can actually do it quite fast. And whilst there is a slight delay, I do notice that there is a bit of a slight delay. For the most part, if you're doing slow rec focuses, it's really good because it has a very nice focus throw. If you want to do it fast, it's responsive enough. So in terms of connection, I know a lot of manufacturers like to talk about how far you can be but in my opinion, when I'm using a wireless follow focus unit, particularly something of this range, of a more affordable range, my unit is never going to be very far from me. Particularly if I'm using an AC, they're always going to be really close to me, or at least within the vicinity of the set and not like miles away. And so for me, what's more important really is, can this unit work through different areas? Let's say there's a wall in front, or there's a bunch of people in front, or there are a bunch of flags and lights and like wireless video units, for example, going around the system, or wireless headsets. And for the most part, I've never had a signal drop on this unit. I've never had the unit just stop working, which just goes to show how solid a connection this unit really is. Now I do want to talk about the cons of this unit, and for me the biggest con really is going to be the build quality and certain usabilities of this. Let's talk about the motor itself actually. So the motor, you can actually power it through an NPF battery, but the way it's connected, it's very clunky. Whilst you can power the motor unit through a USB-C cable, I would have loved to see if there was a battery version inside the motor itself. That way I don't have cables running and flying around everywhere. It just makes your rig really messy and cumbersome at times. Other thing is that obviously it's going to be fairly cheap feeling. Obviously, once again, this is not really a major gripe because we're looking at a price point of $299, which is fairly affordable. So I'm not going to expect like really high quality stuff. But in terms of build quality, it's going to be the buttons. These are the one thing I really hate about this unit is the buttons are so difficult to press. They're like these rubber buttons, but you can't really press at every single part of the button. It's really only in the middle, and so you're gonna have to jam your fingers in, and it's actually very thick, almost thick rubber, so you have to really dig your fingers in. And I for one know in the end, all these like lock set buttons are just going to be full of holes because you're going to have to be using your fingernails to be like pressing into them to actually engage the button. So I'm not so sure how this will hold up in the long run in terms of like aesthetic looks. The last bit is really going to be the focus wheel on this. This is just too smooth. It's just, there is almost no tension in the wheel, and I would have loved to see more tension, or SmallRig, hear me out, I would have loved to see an option to increase or decrease the tension, as for example on a fluid head. You know, like that would be really awesome. You just like pull a lever left and right and it will decrease or increase the tension of the focus wheel. That would be really amazing. In terms of battery life, it lasts really long. It can pretty much last the whole day, so there's no gripe there. It's just the battery option on the motor that really is an issue. I would have loved to see an inbuilt battery inside it. So should you get this MagicFiz unit? I think the first question should be, do you actually need a wireless follow focus system? In my opinion, it really depends on the position that you are or where you are in your career. For me, as shoots are getting a little bit more advanced, you're introducing dollies, your sliders, and you're introducing movement, it's hard to rely on the camera autofocus or really pulling focus at the same time. So having an AC just to control it is really, really important. But if you're the kind of guy, you handheld all the time, I would say that it is better for you to actually be using your hands to focus versus using a wireless unit, because you can actually bring your camera closer and control much more steadier. But if you know that you're going to need a wireless follow focus unit, I would definitely pick this up over the other options on the market, which I think is really only the Tilta Nucleus Nano. This is a much more solid, reliable connection. If you can get over some of the build quality issues, this is well worth your money and it will not fail you on set, and that is more important. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about this unit, do let me know down in the comments below or drop me a message. We're more than happy to help you out. Thank you SmallRig for sending this out to me, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Wow. By the way, if you guys are looking at this, this is because I just voted in my country. Malaysia is having their 15th general election, and so this is shows that you voted. And so did my civic duty, voted.